In this video series, we'll be going over each of the raid bosses and the liberation of Undermine, Simplified. Now for this boss, it's going to be the infamous Muggsy. Similar to the dinosaur and gorilla boss fight, this room will depend largely on positioning and the tanks as well as coordinating with the whole team. So this one is kind of like an upscale of that. While fighting Muggsy, we'll really only have one thing that we absolutely must keep an eye out on during the fight, his energy bar. Regardless of what stage of the fight we're in, when this gets to full, Muggsy will wipe the raid. Now that that's out of the way, the boss will change his abilities and apply a debuff to players depending on what side of the room he's in. We'll want to be switching sides at least every minute while monitoring his energy levels. Usually around 80 or 75, we use all of our movement abilities to get to the other side ASAP. An important note is the boss doesn't have to cross the threshold of the room like the middle line in order to swap sides. Players are entirely responsible for this, so if half of the raid members are on one side while the rest are standing on the other side, you're gonna wipe. Usually pinging helps, so if you're a watchful and vigilant raid member, I thank you for your service. Now I'll go over what we should do depending on what side of the room we're in. So while we're on the blue side of the room, we'll want to keep in mind of three things. The first is 2 adds to spawn on the north and south parts of the room, and they spam chain lightning that ramps up in raid damage. We'll either have a dedicated group of high damage dealers take them out, or have the tanks kite the boss into each of them before having the raid melt the adds. Additionally, crawler mine adds will spawn, and these are immune to damage but can be detonated by having someone run into them. On heroic difficulty, one player can detonate only one mine, and upon being detonated, the raid has to soak the explosion. The second mechanic we have to keep in mind of is going to be the goblin guided rocket. This will target a single player and leave the area it hits on fire. So with that in mind, we usually want the person being targeted to run to the edge or the corner or the middle corner part of the room right here, while either half of the raid or the entire raid soaks the damage. On heroic difficulty though, players can only soak every other rocket, so that means the raid has to split and take turns. For the third mechanic in the blue side of the room, we have double whammy, which will one-shot the target player in most cases, but to avoid that, the tank has to stand in the path of the shot between the targeted player and the boss. Based on the damage mitigation with the tank, it'll reduce the damage to that target player. Similarly to this, we have spray and pray, but we'll either have the target player stand still while the others get out of the way, or that person will use their movement abilities, will dash or sprint or teleport away from the other players. Now usually by the time Muggsy has gone down this list of abilities in that order, sometimes Muggsy will have their bar up to 70 or 80. So by now, we'll have to sprint to the other side of the room. And now that's my cue to talk about the orange side or red side or whatever, the other side, the right side of the room. Now here are the two most important things to be mindful of when we're on this side of the room. When the two players are marked with Earthshaker Jail, it's pronounced jail, not gaol. I thought it was gaol, it's actually jail. We'll want to at least group up to 5 people per targeted jail. People inside of the jail will spawn an ad and a cone dome, so people are trapped inside. Inside it, we must have at least 1 healer and 4 DPS. Mind you that these traps cannot overlap or trap the boss inside of them. Once the ad inside dies, it'll collapse the wall around us, but on heroic though, Frost Shatter Spear will be casted during this intermission, and we can either dodge the spear, but more reliably, we'll want to put the jail wall between you, the targeted player of the Frost Shatter Spear, and Muggsy. The second mechanic we'll want to keep in mind of is going to be Molten Gold Knuckles. This can snag people in melee range standing in front or to the side of Muggsy, so if you're melee class, it's best to stand behind Muggsy to avoid getting hit at all. When hit by this attack, will be affected with Golden Drip, which causes affected players to leave molten golden pools wherever they go, and this will make the fight a lot harder if there's less grounds to stand on. If the affected players don't remove the Golden Drip in 14 seconds, they'll be stunned and turned into solid gold. To get rid of the stacks while avoiding turning the whole side of this room covered with golden drip, we'll want to walk along the corner edges of the room until it's over. That's about all the essential things we need to know during the first phase. What about the second phase? Once Muggsy reaches 40% HP, he'll cast Bullet Storm 3 times. He'll charge at a random player's location through a set distance, and upon arriving, he will cast Bullet Storm, so we'll stand either in front of him or behind him to avoid getting hit while he rotates. After 3 cycles, he will cast Bloodlust and gain access to all abilities from phase 1 simultaneously. That's from the left and the right side combined. This time, however, at least we don't have to worry about what side of the room he's in, and we don't have to worry about like going back and forth. Right now, we'll have to worry about the damage check. There's gonna be a new meter, and upon being filled, regardless if all players are alive and the boss has 2% HP left or whatever, we do everything correct, the raid will wipe. As a tip for this mechanic, we will want to pop or save Bloodlust or pop like long cooldowns when he does, and pray that the raid's damage is enough to take him out before he takes you guys out. That's about it for this video. If you learned something valuable, leave a like and subscribe since it'll help the channel out a lot on our goal of hitting 1,000 subscribers. Stick around for the next episodes where we'll cover the other bosses in a more simplified manner. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.